Hello, Trailblazers. Rachel Shumway here in our third and final video of how I passed my Salesforce admin exam on the first try with ADHD. Today is going to be a little bit more condensed version of the exact tools that I used in all three of the learning stages so that really you can take this and run with it. There's a longer training that I did the other day. It's 24 minutes long, and I just decided, you know what, I can make this even more bite-sized because I happen to learn really well in bite-sized chunks. So in the last video, we talked about the 3 stages of learning and how to use those stages to maximize your time, brain power, and increase the amount of fun that you have while studying. So if you haven't watched that, watch video 2 out of 3. To refresh, the stages are learning, application, and testing. In this video, I'm going to lay out again exactly what resources I used in each of those stages, how to transition between each of these stages. And if you want a more in-depth training, you can watch the extended version. And if you want, super exciting announcement here, an even more consolidated resource library, the wonderful Yumi Kawai Nakasone of ADHD NeuroForce Trailblazer Community and I have decided to partner together to create an application with all of her resources and make an app for the Lightning Exchange, really for a place to have a one-stop shop for all of these resources organized for all of those beautiful ADHD brains. So without further ado, here is what I did. So first and foremost, begin with the end in mind. When you're studying to pass the admin exam, you got to know what the exam is going to be testing you on. Review the exam guide and the objectives. What exactly am I supposed to be learning here? This primes the brain to know what is most important to look for so that when you are actually going and doing the modules and watching the videos, you're picking up the most relevant information. Stage 1, the learning stage. This is where you're going to be first introduced to the material. You might not have a big idea of what's going on, especially in the first objective configuration and setup. There's going to be a lot of new vocabulary terms. So just remember, immersion is key. Kids learn languages by immersion. They have no idea how to learn the language. They just do it naturally because they're surrounded by it. So it's best here, when you're learning, to involve as many senses as possible to be that Salesforce sponge that we talked about in the first video to deepen your knowledge. So for that, learning video tutorials, okay? If you are a Talent Stacker member, you have a beautiful layout already made for you of Trailhead Live videos organized by exam objective. If you're not a Talent Stacker, that's not a problem. I'm going to give you a resource that you can use to accomplish a similar thing. But just know that Trailhead Live videos, if you just search it on Google plus the exam objective, that's going to pull up some really good video tutorials. Another thing is Dave Massey's Udemy course for video learning, okay? You really, you just have to have it. I don't care if you're a Talent Stacker or not, or if you're new to the ecosystem, it's like $20 on Udemy when it goes on sale. It's called Pass the Admin Exam in 2022. He lays out extremely strategically exam guides and creates videos to go along with it. He also has a spreadsheet that lets you check off if you've learned it, if you've built it, how is your understanding level. It's such a beautiful and easy to understand structure. You've got to have it. I'm not an affiliate. I'm just a raving fan. Okay, so that's the thing. Watch the videos and take notes while you watch the videos. I have my colored pen cup and I have a, janky notebook that I picked up from Target. If you're like me, it's easy to get disconnected or distracted while you're just passively watching, right? So I like to have my hands engaged, taking notes. The purpose of my notes was not to go back and read them again. I never did, but I didn't want to be a passive learner. By writing things down, you exponentially, I'm pretty sure it's like 3 times the number of neural pathways are made in your brain when you are listening and watching and writing all at the same time. All right, that's the learning stage. To begin transitioning from learning to application, I recommend using flashcards. While you're taking notes, if you hear something like, you need to know this for the exam, make a star by it or use a different color and then put that into flashcards at the end of the day so that you can review it. Review them 5 at a time until you know why. That is the correct answer, until you've committed that piece of the puzzle to memory. And at the end of the day, to transition from learning to application, I recommend doing a brain dump. Write down everything that you learned that day. Just create a quick 5-minute little summary. Again, that gets you practicing, exercising the muscle of regurgitating the information and not just understanding it, right? The math teacher might be able to walk you through the problem, but if you can't go home and do the homework, which is the application part, it's not going to get you very far. Okay. Watch videos, take notes, take those stars, put them into flashcards, review those flashcards, do an end of day summary. That's for the learning stage. Okay. Stage 2 is application. So you've watched trailblazers build stuff in the org. You've watched Dave Massey go through the tutorials. Now is your turn to do it. Okay. This is where Trailhead comes in. Use the admin trail mix, the one that Salesforce officially creates for admin studying for the exam. Do the trail mix, but don't just like copy paste. Okay, they say do this, do this, do this, do this. No, ask yourself, get in the habit of asking yourself, why am I doing this? What am I building here? How is this going to affect the user interface, what the person on the other side is seeing? And when you're on the user end, when you're in the sales app or the marketing app or the service app, okay, cool. I see that this is what the user is looking at. How do I build this in the back end? Like making those connections between, really, really important. Trailhead is a great place to do that. And I recommend just creating a junk org. I called this my IDGAF playground. Just use it as a way to understand things without any pressure to, have anything be perfect. The more experience you get, the more connections you're making between the setup and the user interface and the different clouds, the more immersed you'll feel, the more at home you'll feel there, right? Okay, and then the other thing that you can do in application stage is make it practical, make it real life. If you go through a module and you're like, I wonder how I could use this in my real life, go and build it right then and there. And just be like, okay, cool. I just learned about reports and dashboards. I just made all of these configurations to help Ursa Solar Major track how many of, this type of machine is coming in. How can I make that applicable? Example for me, I'm training for a marathon. How many races have I run this year? How many miles have I run? What were my times? Can I create a report and a dashboard to show me my progress in my marathon times over time? One of your ADHD superpowers is making connections between random corners of the world because we go on tangents, right? Remember in video 1, we talked about making those tangents meaningful. Go on a tangent, make it meaningful, bring it back to the trail, bring it back to the exam guide. And that's how you start to use your ADHD superpower, because then you have a really deep, intuitive, and a wide breadth of knowledge and understanding of the platform. All right, and transition from application to testing phase, again, I just get in the habit of asking myself the question, what am I building here? How will the user see? What am I changing in setup? How could I tweak it? If I tweak it here, what's going to happen? What permissions need to be enabled in order to make this solution applicable? Just really asking yourself questions from the Salesforce admin hat and then also from the user hat. Because in the testing phase, which is stage 3, they're going to give you scenario-based questions. They're not going to ask you, I mean, they might sometimes, but they're not going to ask you, where exactly in setup do you need to go to find the fiscal year? Probably not going to do that. That's too easy. They're going to ask you, the admin is noticing that the fiscal year in the system and the fiscal year of the company are not matching up. What might be a reason why? And then they'll ask you a question about, the org has a 13-month fiscal year, so you have to enable custom or something like that, right? You really need to know why and be able to read in between the lines. Okay, testing phase, focus on force, Salesforce, Ben, great places to start. Okay, you don't need more than that. Honestly, just pick one and then go with it, and you can add the other one in later. As you're going through for the first time, objective 1 is finished, configuration and setup. Okay, great. So what I did is I've gone through the trailhead, I've watched the videos. Now is the time for me to test my knowledge. Go into Salesforce or into Focus on Force and go into the configuration and setup tests. Select the option to show the correct answer at the end of each question. Not spend a lot of time thinking about it or like freaking out because I don't know the answer. The point is kind of to get the answers wrong on the first time. It's not, I never went into it with an expectation that I would know it. The point is to see the holes in your knowledge so that you can go and fill them in. Okay, so don't spend a lot of time on each question. If you're not sure, 1 to 2 minutes max, and then you'll see. You'll get the answer right, you'll get the answer wrong. And if you got the answer wrong or right, honestly, it will show you sentence by sentence exactly why that scenario required this answer to be correct. Okay, ask yourself, why is this true? Why is this the right answer? How does this show up in the org? Again, really, really, really going deep. If there's a permission that you didn't know about that you need to memorize, okay, good to know. If there is a different functionality, if there's a permission set, if this is a question about object, record, or field level security, really understand why you got the question right. That might mean that it takes you 15 minutes to get through a question. Doesn't matter. The point isn't to get it right on the first try. The point is to understand as if you were getting to know a person. Tell me about yourself. Why is this the way that it was? And honestly, if anything else, if you don't take anything else away from these trainings, get in the habit of asking yourself why. Go deeper, understand why, because no scenario is the same. And it doesn't do you any good to understand the answer, to memorize the answers. Okay. Now, difference between focus on force and Salesforce. Ben, this is my perspective. Focus on force has a lot of very technical jargon, and so can create headaches. It's really important that you get used to that and that you know how to filter through and to understand what is fluff and what is not. Salesforce, Ben, the way that they phrase their questions are a little bit more, in my opinion, like the actual Salesforce exam. That being said, I recommend using both because they throw in different kinds of caveats. They throw in different kinds of questions, different scenarios, and they do test different things. Focus on force is very specific. Salesforce, Ben, is specific on different things, okay? Once you've gone through all of the trailhead, all of the video modules, you've built everything out, that's when I would recommend starting testing everything, okay? Take a 60-question test. Time yourself. Don't check the answers until the end. Practice both. And then once you get the scores, go through that process of why did I get this question wrong? What do I need to build? Where do I need to deepen my understanding? What acronym do I need to create in order to support me in knowing that, yep, I feel confident on this objective? Okay. And then once you've done all of that, just doing a final run through. Practice tests are excellent for that. Go into that. Okay, I feel like I don't really understand this. I'm going to do a brain dump on everything I know about the sales and marketing applications. I'm going to compare that to the exam guide. What do I not know? What do I know really, really well? And then just kind of start, memorizing and getting more into those flashcards, reviewing, do a Salesforce certification day, use the Salesforce cert day as a way to check, what do I know? What do I not know? What do I need to deepen my knowledge on? And then when you're feeling, I personally would recommend 85% comfortable. Some people say it's less, their tolerance is less. I felt comfortable with 85. Once I was getting 80 to 85 on those practice tests, okay, cool. Take the web assessor practice exam because that's a pretty good comparison as to the difficulty of the exam. And then finally, please get accommodations. Salesforce provides accommodations for if you have ADHD, okay? It's really easy. Go to your doctor, get a note, submit a case, and there's instructions on the Salesforce website of how to do that. And then, take your test. Go into it focused, believing in yourself, trusting in yourself. You're going to be anxious, but that's okay. Breathe, remember, refresh those acronyms. And the worst thing that can happen is that you fail and that you fail forward. Okay. All right, my fellow trailblazers, the best of luck to you in studying and in this week, and I will talk with you later.